Hi, I'm Erin, and when I was first asked what true wellness meant to me, the first thing that came to my mind is that I used to think being well meant doing well, being able to keep up, being able to keep those balls in the air, those ducks in a row. And sure, I'd cut myself some slack when it came to house cleaning or my personal appearance. But really, when I look back on my life, I can see that perfectionism was pretty nearly as hardwired into me as my need to be loved. And so it no longer surprises me that those wires would eventually get crossed. When I was a student, I didn't have to work too hard to get straight A's. And so other people just naturally assumed Erin's brilliant. She's gifted, she's going places. I remember the valedictorian of my graduating class actually predicted that I would be the driving force behind some worldwide movement someday. All I can do is laugh at that now because in behind that mover and shaker mask was just an insecure little girl who had no idea where she was going or what she was doing. But I learned to wear the masks of the assumptions that other people made about me, assumptions based on my abilities and my talents. But all that did was isolate me. And I think deep down, I fell for the lie that if my performance ever slackened, that somehow so would people's love for me. So if we fast forward well into my adult life, after I had been married for many years and birthed 4 beautiful children, my performance tanked. I fell from the frayed ends of my rope flat on my face. I was deceived by one subtle lie after another until I was living a lie. And I thought, boy, if I ever take this mask off, I'm surely going to lose all the love I've ever known. But it was at that point that I discovered there was one who knew me inside and out, and I couldn't erase his love for me when I would sit there expecting judgment and humiliation. God would just continue to surprise me and pour out on me his lavish love. And I think it took me getting to my personal version of rock bottom before God could finally prove that it was me that he loved. It wasn't my performance. It wasn't my perfect track record. He loved me. And through all of this, he gave to me the strength and the grace that I needed to initiate a journey of mask-ripping intimacy with my husband. And to my surprise, he was just as desperate for it as I was. There were chains that my husband had carried nearly all his life, chains that I knew nothing about. And as Jesus began to snap the lies that held me in bondage, I watched as my husband's chains shattered as well. And I will marvel for all of eternity at the way that God used our selfishness. He was able to use the undoing of our own hands to build for us a life-giving marriage that we had never been able to achieve, that had always felt somehow out of reach for us. And so my idea of wellness has changed a lot. True wellness doesn't look like perfection to me anymore. It looks a lot less like picture perfect and a lot more like truth. It looks like brutal honesty, because only when we face and deal with how unwell we are can we ever hope to find a way to true wellness. And really, when my husband and I, it was when we were brave enough to embrace the truth, not only the truth about ourselves, but also the truth about who God is and his undying love for us, that we were able to find a freedom that had eluded us all our lives. And I call our story a story of unlikely grace, because of all people, we should have known better. As servants in the church, ministering the word of God, we couldn't even plead ignorance. But God knew that in that tight spot that the enemy of our souls would pin us, His grace would start to mean something to us personally. And grace has gone from being just a theological reality, a religious buzzword, to being a word that God has etched deeply on our hearts. And I think that's what true wellness is for me now, is learning how to live the rest of my days in this unlikely grace of God. Because I know now that I could never live and breathe a day without it.